On First at 9 this Monday, the 26th of January 2026. Behind bars. 6 police officers charged with assaulting a Catholic priest further remanded until January 29. Coal scam. Sri Lanka lost approximately 2.6 gigawatt hours of electricity daily due to the controversial coal tender, Ranavaka alleges. Financial loss nearly twice the fine expected to be recovered from the supplier. Health crisis. GMOA pledges to continue trade union action over the government's failure to address professional concerns. Calls mount for an investigation into an alleged shortage of cancer medications and unregistered drugs in circulation. Export boom. Sri Lanka's total export earnings for 2025 reaches $17 billion, surpassing the 2024 figure.
Kalin baby soap rupial 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on Derana News Channel, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. I'm Derana, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. We begin with your top story. The 6 police officers who were arrested and remanded on charges of assaulting a Catholic priest have been further remanded until January 29th. The suspects were produced before the Gampa Magistrates Court today. Meanwhile, the priest who had been receiving treatment at the Negombo Base Hospital has been transferred to the Colombo National Hospital for further care.
Father Milan Priyadarshana, a Catholic priest from Kotadeniya, was admitted to the Negombo District Hospital last Saturday night, alleging that he had been assaulted by a group of police officers. He stated that he was attacked by officers who chased him in the Udugampala area of Gampala while he was riding a motorcycle to attend a church service. 6 officers attached to the Gampa Divisional Criminal Investigation Unit were arrested yesterday by Gampa police in connection with the incident. They were initially remanded after being produced before the Gampa Magistrates Court and were produced before the court again this morning. Gampa Magistrate Silani Pereira ordered that the officers be further remanded until January 29th.
This was not a police checkpoint. Therefore, there was no one to signal the priest to stop from the left side and no signal was given to anyone. A group of bikers approaching from the front attempted to signal the priest to stop, but he did not notice it. Only after travelling about another kilometre was the priest chased down and assaulted. If the priest had obeyed the law and stopped the bike according to the officer's signal, there would have been no issue. Everyone, whether clergy or lawyers, is subject to civil law. What if the officers use their firearms? They have the authority to do so. However, in this case, the officers decided to arrest the priest and follow through safely and correctly. It has been revealed that no assault took place, only a heated exchange.
Meanwhile, the police spokesperson was inquired regarding the incident at a press conference at the police media division today.
එතුමාට පහර දීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒකේ විමර්ශන කොහොමද සිදුවෙන්නේ ඒ පහර දීමක් කියන එක තහවුරු කරගෙන තියෙනව නේද
එම පියතුමන්ට පහර දීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් මේ වන විට
The 6 officers suspected of the assault were arrested and remanded after being produced before court. The law applies equal to everyone, including police officers, in the case of wrongdoing.
නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම සඳහා ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසිය කටයුතු කරනවා.
චෝදනාව තිබුණේ හැඳුනුම්පත පෙන්නද්දී පියතුමා ඒ හැඳුමින් සැරසෙලා ඉඳද්දී පහර දුන්නයි කියන එක.
විමර්ශන කටයුතු පිළිබඳව ප්‍රගතිය අධිකරණාත්මක කටයුතු වලින් පස්සේ මට ඔබට ලැබෙන්නට සලස්වන්න.
ඔබේ සම හඳුනාගෙන ඖෂධීය ශාකසාරමේ Forever face wash එකක් භාවිතා කරන්න.
The Government Medical Officers Association initiated 5 continuous trade union action in all government hospitals across the island from 8 a.m. this morning. The GMOA attributes the industrial action to the government's failure to fulfill its written commitments regarding professional issues. The GMOA launched an island-wide strike on January 23rd, alleging that the written agreements provided by the Minister of Health, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa, to address several issues in the medical profession had not been implemented. These demands included the designation of the medical profession as a special service category, the introduction of the unique salary structure, the revision of the DAT allowance, and the provision of transport facilities. The Executive Committee of the GMOA, which convened a few hours after the conclusion of the two-day strike, decided to initiate 5 continuous industrial actions across all government hospitals from today due to the government's failure to meet these demands. These actions include refraining from issuing prescriptions for the purchase of medicines and surgical equipment not available in hospitals, not recommending external laboratories for tests unavailable in hospitals, withholding support for attaching doctors to establish new medical units, not providing assistance for conducting medical clinics and camps organized for political purposes, and not conducting patient examinations unless an officer is provided to assist doctors in examining patients and recording their information. Patients visiting government hospitals across the island were inconvenienced owing to the trade union action. However, patients who visited the Kaluthara Teaching Hospital and the Homagama Base Hospital stated that they received treatment without inconvenience despite the industrial actions.
These 5 trade union actions are being carried out in hospitals across the island from 8 am. However, we will not disrupt any emergency medical services or assistance provided in medical emergencies. We will not carry out these trade union actions in a manner that endangers the lives of patients. We are ready to discuss these issues with the ministry at any time. If the ministry agrees to provide solutions within a definite time frame, we are prepared to stop these trade union actions at any time.
Several factions today called for a probe into a purported shortage of 40 cancer medications and claims that unregistered cancer drugs are currently in circulation. Chairman of the Doctors' Trade Union Alliance for Medical and Civil Rights, Dr. Chamal Sanjeeva, questions whether the quality and safety of the medications have been adequately tested. A complaint was lodged with the Criminal Investigation Department today, calling for an investigation into the purported shortage of 40 cancer medications and claims that unregistered cancer drugs are currently circulating in the market. The complaint was lodged by Samag Janabalawega MP Mujibur Rahman and Chairman of the Doctors' Trade Union Alliance for Medical and Civil Rights, Dr. Chamal Sanjeeva.
Cancer hospitals are currently facing a critical shortage of nearly 40 essential cancer medications. As a result of this scarcity, patients are being forced to procure these life-saving drugs from external sources at exorbitant prices. Furthermore, we have identified the presence of a drug circulating in the market that is yet to be officially registered. The composition and safety of this medication remains unknown. In addition to the shortage of vaccines and other pharmaceuticals, there is also an alarming lack of basic medical supplies, including gauze and bandages. Multiple reports have raised concerns over suspicious deaths and adverse symptoms linked to the use of certain antibiotics and immunoglobulin products. These developments raise serious doubts as to whether the quality and safety of the medications in question have been adequately tested and verified. Several medications currently priced between 30,000 and 40,000 rupees have reportedly not been registered with the National Medicines Regulatory Authority. Serious concerns have also been raised regarding the quality of these drugs. According to medical professionals, certain medications administered to patients have shown little to no therapeutic effect, with patients demonstrating no significant improvement. In response to these alarming findings, lodged a formal complaint today urging the government to initiate an immediate and comprehensive investigation into the matter.
Deputy Minister of Labour Mahinda Jayasinghe states that the government will implement the education reforms after correcting identified shortcomings and ensuring the supplying of the facilities required for their implementation. He made these remarks while addressing a gathering in Gampa yesterday.
Another seminar in the series of government-led programs to inform the public about the new education reforms was held in Gampaha yesterday.
When CWW Kannangara introduced free education to Sri Lanka, members of his own party, the UNP, objected to it. Their juniors in the UNP and SJB are colluding with other opposition parties to oppose the education reforms today. I heard the opposition leader stating that the necessary infrastructure is unavailable. He used to distribute educational equipment before the elections. But what about now? It is the most important time, but the distribution of smart board has been halted because there is no election. We have identified the required facilities and drafted plans to provide them. The education reforms have not been halted. We are attempting to fix any mistakes and move forward. We will not forcefully implement these reforms like Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who imported organic fertilizer amidst opposition from farmers. The reforms will only be implemented after all doubts regarding the process are clarified.
In the meantime, the Medical Faculty Students Action Committee requested the government to halt the implementation of the revised Grade 1 curriculum, stating that a pilot project should be implemented before the reforms are officially adopted.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has called on the government to implement the postponed Grade 6 education reforms within this year. Speaking to the media, he stressed that the swift action is needed to address the prolonged hardship faced by students and parents due to the delay.
With the suspension of the Grade 6 education reforms, students across the country have been left helpless. These reforms must be implemented as soon as possible within this year, and that is our position. A formal negotiation process is necessary for their implementation. As the opposition, we are ready to offer our suggestions and support on behalf of the children who are being treated unfairly. The postponed education reforms must be corrected and implemented within this year, and we are fully prepared to extend our support for that process.
Leader of the United Republic Front, Patali Champika Ranavika, says Sri Lanka has incurred daily energy loss of 2.5 gigawatt hours due to the controversial coal tender leading to the procurement of substandard coal. Speaking at a media briefing, Ranavika revealed that the financial loss incurred is almost twice the fine expected to be levied from the supplier.
Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna parliamentarian D.V. Chanaka stated in Parliament that the government has incurred a financial loss of nearly 10 billion rupees due to the importation of substandard coal for operations at the Lakvijaya coal power plant in Orochole. This statement sparked widespread controversy. In the meantime, the Minister of Energy releasing a statement noted that an accurate assessment of the quality of the coal is not possible as yet, as the inspection report from the landing port is yet to be released. Energy Minister Kumara Jayakuri previously stated that the supplier of the substandard coal could be fined. In this context, Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa confirmed yesterday that the consignment of coal is in fact substandard. The United Republic Front convened a media briefing with regard to the controversial import of coal.
Conditions imposed on the tender process were relaxed. The stock limit of 1 million tonnes that should be maintained at the end of 36 months was reduced to 100,000 tonnes. Why did this tender receive so many bids? Are they trying to portray this as a talent of the government? It is not a surprise that this many companies responded when the stock limit was lowered to 100,000 tonnes. On the other hand, the prices are comparatively low. This too isn't a talent of the government. The price of coal has dropped significantly at present. A ton of coal is valued at between 90 to 100 US dollars. The Ceylon Electricity Board recently submitted a proposal to the Public Utilities Commission requesting an increase in tariffs by 12%. It is mentioned in this proposal that a kilogram of coal is priced at 41 rupees. However, the tender had already been awarded. This consignment of coal was produced with 1 kilogram of coal priced at 30 rupees and 40 cents. As per the proposal of the CEB, 15 rupees and 34 cents has to be paid per unit. However, if this consignment of coal was brought in following the proper procedure, the price of a unit of electricity would have dropped to 10 rupees. The kilocalorie to kilogram ratio is 6,150. Our power plant has been turned based on this standard. This consignment of coal was not sent through the load import and was certainly not from South Africa. It was imported from a different country. This itself has a big issue embedded within. The Lanka Coal Company is yet to issue its report. Concealing data is a unique issue faced by this government. The reject value, which is at 5,900 kilograms, was not mentioned in this report. This is for the attention of Minister Nalinda Jayatissa. This is the reject value. All of the samples have recorded values below the reject value. The government has mentioned the possibility of levying fines over this issue. It is mentioned in the agreement that this company will not take any responsibility for damages caused to energy and equipment. Just see, why did they burn the coal in such a hurry? This is for the knowledge of conspirators. The Ceylon Electricity Board issues combustion report. It is clearly mentioned in these combustion reports that only 715 units have been generated by means of thermal coal. It ideally should have produced 810 units. 2.6 gigawatt gigawatt hours have been lost daily because of coal. If the same amount of energy was generated through diesel, the daily loss incurred can be estimated to be 150 million. The direct financial losses caused to the CEB due to the first ship alone stands at 1.4 billion. They are planning on securing $2 million by means of fines. However, the actual loss is more than twice this value.
හැබැයි ඒ වගේ දෙගුණයකට වැඩි පාඩුවක් සිදු වෙලා අවසන් මේ වෙනකොට.
Welcome back, and here's a look at some thoughts shared in the political arena today.
For the first time in history, the Speaker of Parliament has suspended from duty a Deputy Secretary General of Parliament. It is the Secretary General who is responsible for the discipline of the Deputy Secretary General and not the Speaker. Thereby, the Speaker has no authority to suspend the Deputy Secretary General from duty. A preliminary investigation was not launched into suspended Deputy Secretary General Chaminda Kularatne. A retired Additional Secretary was appointed to oversee an inquiry into obtaining information under the Right to Information Act and on the appointment of the Deputy Secretary General. The official was suspended based on the report presented by this retired Additional Secretary. An Additional Secretary cannot possibly hold authority to conduct a preliminary investigation into a Deputy Secretary General of Parliament. The Deputy Secretary General was suspended based on his permanent appointment to the position, though he should have served in the position for 3 years in order for him to be made permanent. It is the Cabinet of Ministers who permanently appointed him to the post. They have considered his permanent appointment to the position an offence and suspended the victim from service while disregarding those who committed the offence.
දැන් මේ හිටපු කතානායක අශෝකරංගල මහත්තයාගෙත් ඔය තනතුරක ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබ්බේ ආචාර්ය උපාධිය නැහැ කියලා එතුමා.
On the 19th of January 2025, he left for Japan on Cathay Pacific's flight number CX6110. There is a photograph taken in the waiting room of gate number 12 for departures. It is confirmed that he travelled to Japan. However, it has not been confirmed whether he brought back any certificate.
ඊයේ දවසේදී මේ කතෝලික පියතුමෙකුට පහර දීලා තියෙනවා අපි දැක්කා. වාසනා.
It was fortunate that he was a Catholic priest. Had he been a Buddhist monk, it is not the police who would be imprisoned but the monks themselves. We witnessed a similar incident in Trincomalee. Police officers who assaulted monks are still roaming freely. If throwing foul shots were an art, Lanka would be its Picasso. We all saw how these individuals hurling a foul shot at the saffron robe. They also directed a foul shot at the Deputy Secretary of Parliament. Lawyers and clergy are deemed insignificant. They have openly stated that if anyone opposes them, they will take the law into their own hands. Before the election, they claimed they would bring judicial power to the villagers, and this is exactly what they are doing. That is their intention. Yesterday, we saw a Catholic priest being attacked by the police. What did the police say in response? That those who wear saffron robes and clerical gowns are a disgrace to this country. This is the ideology of the government. It is an ideological stance to openly declare that if someone is attacked, they will retaliate. The opposition is spreading slander in an attempt to hinder the government's progress. The role of the Attorney General is to examine records and decide whether a case should be filed. Regardless of whether the case is eventually won or lost, the government is determined to proceed with filing it. They are attempting to have someone remanded for 2 to 3 months through the courts. It does not matter to them if the case is ultimately lost as long as an individual has been accused and branded a fraudster. This is the government's short-term agenda. We cannot enforce the law abruptly. Can we suddenly and forcibly apprehend and imprison someone? That is not possible. That is not democracy. Such actions must follow a proper investigation and a judicial process. It cannot be done by force. This is how the law is meant to be enforced. The 2025 Transparency Report on Corruption in Sri Lanka is striking. When Ranil presented it in 2024, Sri Lanka had a score of 32. Under Andhra Kumara, that score dropped to 24. This means Sri Lanka has been pushed to the level of the most corrupt countries in the world. The international community has also acknowledged that this government is corrupt.
Now, the Minister of Transport, Highways and Urban Development, Bimal Ratnayaka, stated that a flyover will be constructed to link the main bus terminals in Petta with the Fort Railway Station, improving accessibility and convenience for passengers. Meanwhile, several renovation projects are planned for the Fort Railway Station.
Minister of Transport, Highways and Urban Development Bimal Ratnayaka engaged in a tour of inspection at the Fort Railway Station today. During the inspection, the minister was interrupted by civil activist Kamanta Tashara.
We visited the Fort Railway Station to review the progress of its ongoing development project. At present, there are approximately 3 major bus terminals operating in the the Colombo Fort area. In the future, we plan to integrate the Bastion bus terminal and adjacent car park and the railway station into a single interconnected hub. The integrated facility will ultimately be developed into a multimodal transport center. A proposal has also been submitted to construct a sky bridge linking the Bastion Mawatha parking facility directly to the railway station. This will enable pedestrians to access DR Vijayawardena Mawatha seamlessly and safely. The public granted us a mandate based on the expectation that those who are committed wrongdoings will be held accountable through lawful means. In line with this commitment, 2 government-owned bungalows previously allocated to members of parliament have been handed over to the Bribery Commission to facilitate legal proceedings. A further 2 bungalows will be provided to support investigations into drug trafficking. In addition, the CID and the FCID are currently recording statements from former political figures. If justice were administered in the same manner as during the Rajapaksa or Ranil Wickremesinghe administrations, the accused would argue that due process was not followed. On January 1st, during the Clean Sri Lanka initiative, the President highlighted inefficiencies within the Attorney General's department. Several officers within the department have performed their duties commendably, and without their efforts, many of these legal actions would not have progressed. However, questions have arisen regarding whether the intention of certain senior officials have shifted. Reforms have also been introduced within Sri Lanka Railways, where some officials were removed for failing to adequately discharge their responsibilities. However, such actions must always be carried out through lawful and ethical procedures. Corruption must not be allowed to evade justice on technical grounds. We maintain our confidence that the officials of the Attorney General's department will act in the best interest of the public. However, there are attempts by certain parties to create friction between the government and the judicial system. As a responsible and mature political movement, we remain committed to addressing these matters through democratic and lawful means.
Welcome back to First at 9. Now in your business news, Sri Lanka's total export earnings in 2025 were recorded at $17.25 billion, exceeding the figure recorded in 2024. Accordingly, the country's export sector has continued its positive growth momentum in 2025, registering a notable year-on-year growth of 5.6%, with a target of achieving a 10% increase in exports from 2026 onwards.
Export performance month of December was $1,490. Out of that, merchandising export recorded value $1,166 million, and the service sector export performance was $223 million. With that, 2025 year, we were able to perform more than $17.2 billion export performance. So compared with the 2024, we can see this is more than 5.5% improvement. Sector-wise, apparel sector, tea, coconut, food and beverage, spices, fruit and vegetable, electrical, electronics, and the gem and jewelry sector performance are very good. Region-wise, we can see that NAFTA countries, good improvement, and also all European Union countries and the South Asian countries, ASEAN countries, and Middle East, and also African countries, export performance are very much positive way in last year. By 2030, our plan is to get 36 billion export revenue. So with that, we are expecting more than 10% export growth from 2026 onward. We have identified some of the new sectors beyond our traditional sectors: auto component, transport and logistics, and the electrical, electronics, mineral-based apparel, food and beverage will be key sector we are focusing for the next 1 to 3 years time period in the phase 1.
The Colombo bourse closed in mixed territory today as a result of price losses in counters such as Sampath Bank, Richard Pearis and Company, and DFCC Bank. The benchmark ASPI declined by 0.01% to close at 23,953.09. However, the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 increased marginally by 0.20% to end the day at 6,663.12. Market turnover was 5.49 billion rupees. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers offloading shares worth 25 million rupees. Up next, we have Mushraf Ibrahim from Capital Alliance in our next segment, Markets in View.
The Sri Lankan stock market recorded a positive performance during the week ended 23rd January 2026. The all-share price index closed at 23,956.51 points, posting a modest week-on-week gain of 0.95%. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 index advanced to 6,649.50 points, registering a weekly increase of about 1.36%. Market activity strengthened during the week, with total equity turnover rising to LKR 38.49 billion from LKR 24.15 billion in the previous week, reflecting improved investor participation.
With that, here's a look at today's exchange rates. The price of a gold sovereign in Sri Lanka increased in line with the upward trend in global gold prices. Traders at the Colombo Peta Gold Market reported that the price of gold sovereign has risen around 12,000 rupees. Accordingly, the current price of a 24-carat gold sovereign stands at 362,200 rupees, while a 22-carat gold sovereign is priced at 397,000 rupees. Meanwhile, in global market, the price of gold surpassed 5,000 USD mark per ounce. Economic analysts predict that gold prices may exceed 5,500 USD per ounce by the end of this year, driven by prevailing global economic conditions. That's all for tonight from First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.
From across the nation and around the world, this is Sri Lanka's #1 news source, Ada Derana.